Choose you this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. I love them, but the Hodge twins triggered me again in an inspiring way into behavioral, psychological, and social theory. Dr. Demers can't get enough of their stuff.
You know, I hear a lot of people say the safe thing, I guess, to protect themselves from online persecution, and I can understand why. But, you know, I gotta say this. Everybody's saying, I don't got a problem with homosexuals, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, and of course, sometimes there's a little asterisk, you know, what if it involves kids? Well, check this out, okay? Would you have a problem with me having a problem with homosexuals if, as the victim of childhood sexual slavery, the only people that were able to penetrate me were homosexual adult males? Would you have a problem with me having a problem with them because of what they did to me in the past? None of them did any time in jail, and they were all and my birth giver was paid welfare money to allow them to access to me to do this. You know, stupid camera. I don't think it's the camera. I think it's Windows. Does the same thing with the Bluetooth audio. It's cutting out. Makes it almost unusable to do any work with. Anyway, yeah, that's why I hate this stupid camera. I gotta get a real camera. I spent $60 on that camera to get the best of the best camera, and I can't even record one in 3 minutes. Oh, sorry. Oh, I hate that camera. Or I hate Windows. Oh yeah, anyway, had that female been forced to be married, or at least figure things out on her own for getting pregnant before getting married, then I'd say that she wouldn't have allowed, or the father being forced into the home to take care of the situation, wouldn't have allowed all these males to come and penetrate me like they did, causing me to supposedly have problems with them. So, anyway, so if I were to not say I didn't have a problem with homosexuals, would you have a problem with me from my past? Now, I can tell you, I don't have a problem with homosexuals because of that. For real. That, in fact, until I just started putting this together lately with watching everybody do the coward thing, and I don't have a problem with homosexuals. Alright, well, the actual 2 reasons why I have a problem with homosexuals. Not because they're the only ones that were allowed to penetrate, type of people that would penetrate a young boy. But even the ones that don't have anything to do with, you know, that minor attractive persons, I'm not going to say because I don't want to get banned for that one word. That is what violated me, but they have more rights than me. I'm not even allowed to call them for what they are, even though they did. Yeah. Anyway, hope you get that point. So, the problems I have is mental illness, personality disorder, whatever. But according to the DSM-4 and 5, homosexuality is a mental disorder. Okay, then there's the bias. Yeah, figures the camera would cut out right when I change topics. It's almost like it's an algorithm, like it knows what I'm talking about. No kidding. Anyway, maybe AI's infiltrated my computer and I'm either paranoid and conspiring, or maybe I'm right on the money. I don't care. The point is, at this point, I'm just going to have to hit the reset button and put it in the editor and put it all back together. This actually isn't supposed to be an edited clip piece. My camera just keeps failing. So, talk about obsessive compulsive. All right, let's get off that obsession. Anyway, the Bible. So, the Bible, you know, says it's a sin. And it's immoral. That's the word I was trying to boil it down to. So, if you're spiritual, it's immoral. If you're a doctor and scientific, it's a mental disorder. And if you're a childhood sexual abuse victim by adult males, Well, then, what do you call that? Do you call that just fair? Justified? No. You call that, you better shut up about it, because those minor attracted people have more rights than you do. In fact, look at me. I live in an RV. Stupid. Excuse my language. Stupid camera. I'm so sick of this stupid stuff. I can't shoot video on my computer because of this. And it's the most convenient thing. I just hit the button and record. And of course, now I'm going to have to set up my tripod, set up the camera, make sure it's facing the right way, set up the audio. I paid $60 for my camera! Man, I'm sorry, but I just want to shoot this video in one nice... And I've been wanting to do this since I bought this camera a year ago. I still haven't figured out how to get this camera to stop just... Because I could use it for a security camera, I could use it for all kinds of things. But I barely ever even use it because it just won't stay running for more than a few minutes. Except once in a while. It'll run for hours without a single glitch. I stop using it for a few minutes, try to use it again, and then just trouble. What do I do? Get another computer? That does it to my other laptop. Just stop using laptops to get a real computer? Maybe a USB 3.0 hub that's got an external power source might fix it, but if it doesn't, then I just wasted even more money on trying to do this. Alright, so anyway, yeah, look at me. I'm disabled, missing parts of my brain, and you know, punched, and broken jaw, broken nose that never got fixed, and internal damage from being penetrated to the point of surgery. All these different things. Apologize for looking down at the monitor. I've got, like I said, kind of trying to make sure the camera's still running. Stop with the obsession, Joshua. You know, at this point, I might as well just screw that $60 1080p stereo microphone, awesome webcam I bought that could do so much if it just runs for more than 3 minutes. Anyway, so you know, if anyway, yeah, so if I call them for what they are, I get in trouble. I'm gonna get kicked off of YouTube and all this kind of stuff, and they get to go throw parades and talk single mothers into letting their children go and watch this stuff in public, and to the point where states are having to come in and say, no, why aren't they? I mean, how did it ever get to this point? Democratic voters and government cronies and tyranny and push to communism, and Earth Day celebration is a god and a religion used to instill fear into the masses to get them to, and the same with the genocide of the babies. And I mean, I learned Down syndrome. I sure hope this audio comes out better than that audio, because I don't even know anymore. Well, you know what? I just want my camera to work, man. I just want my webcam, and I pay so much money to work so I can do this kind of stuff as I feel motivated to do it without having to set everything up to the point where I forget where I'm going on everything. Alright, anyway. Well, hey, you know, if you think the message is more important than the quality with cameras, then I'll just accept the fact that you could accept the fact that where I put my laptop screen to face me from being up there and upside down, I might get away with it.
Where is this saving these files at?
Alright, well, I just rewatched myself get a little emotional, and you watch it up and down. You know, that's emotional regulation disorder, and I believe and that's well regulated. If you didn't notice, you notice how, I mean, I was actively self-aware and was able to instantly bring myself back down. That looks a little chaotic to the untrained individual, and you know, but when I rewatch that, I can say, wait a minute, I've seen other people break out like that from, you know, some emotional miswiring and not be able to instantly recognize and flip back, sometimes never, you know, until way too far. I didn't even get, and I even was able to not build up anger over the repeated frustration In fact, it looked like I was able to actually bring it in and direct my aggression into a more cynical approach than a outrage. And to the point where, like, now that it's all over with, I could say that if it starts clicking on and happening again, I'd be able to just accept it. And I think that's because I got it all out on the last one. And I'm going to leave it all earlier in this video. I believe I'm just going to toss this at the end of the last one. But anyway, so yeah, I'm going to leave that in and talk about that right now. Okay, those outbreaks, I believe that had I not been talking about that emotional subject or something, and a camera would have been, or maybe those outbursts wouldn't have happened, or would have been so subtle that I wouldn't have, the fact that I had to stop and reset, that may not have happened.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to say about the emotional regulation disorder that, it's not like I can't completely control myself most of the time, especially again when they're just light triggers like that aren't really going to make any big differences, and people are forcing me into, making snap decisions, even if they're not, open to, even if they're societally, or subconscious, innuendos and things. So what I'm saying is I got the self-control to force myself not to act that way at all. I acted that way because I'm, in my own place by myself, and doing that makes it easier to handle them and everything else. Because when I do force myself in public to not do that, or even by myself here, it catches up with me in other ways, like insomnia, or again, back in the past, before I even understood all this, apparently epileptic style seizures, the psychogenetic, non-epileptic psychogenic seizures, because I just was forcing myself to act normal instead of just letting myself have those little outrages, which is, that can all go on to the whole thing of, what do you call it? Agoraphobia, not wanting to go out in public or even leave the house much.
The fact that I had to stop and reset, that may not have happened. Honestly, though, those feelings and all that, everything that I expressed, those are real. That's real. That's stuff that, since I bought this camera and been wanting to shoot footage like this, has been outraging me, that I just haven't been able to get a good camera set up to just sit here and shoot quality audio. I think right now at the moment, just obsessing for a moment before I compulse back to where. Anyway, camera, the microphones are great. That one's terrible, staticky, don't know what's wrong with it. So, but I found out if I leave that as a microphone input device and use that camera, the 720 on the laptop screen, the microphone never cuts out. In fact, so I get the good quality audio and I get okay video. So you get a little bit of the best of both. Anyway, but the point is stability. Even though I can handle the instability at this point, I don't. We'll work on it. So, okay, back. Emotional regulation disorder. What you were saying, I believe, was what they would call an emotional regulation disorder. Again, I believe mine is severe, but it's also extremely well treated. So you're seeing the severe onset, but you're also seeing an extreme ability to cope and work with it. So what I'm trying to theorize here is, if you watch something like that happen to another person and they don't immediately reel it back, that's probably a lot more dangerous and way less stable than somebody like me who up and down within a short period of time, but never actually drifts off into negativity, works themselves back into pop. So like I said, so just for psychoanalysis, what you saw earlier, now, that actually happens even when I'm not talking about bad things that happened in my past, or things about politics that had caused it, that are still going on today, or tragedies that are happening to innocent, life on this planet, through just straight up horrible humans. Okay? those are triggering, but they're actually not as triggering as you think. That little outburst, that happens even when I'm not talking about emotional things, and that's why it's a disorder. Because for it to actually happen while I'm talking about that thing, some people couldn't even talk about that stuff, and some people would be breaking down and crying. Me, had my camera not just broken up my desire to maintain steady train of thought and get the story out in clear communication, and that's, I think, what I was really getting upset. When something interrupts my clear communication that I have worked so hard to obtain the capacity to, that's when I get, start flipping out and having to re-level. Now, you might say, well, you're 42 years old. You should be able to have fixed all that by now. I actually have fixed it as much as what I got to work with. Remember I was talking about being punched in the head and being born missing part of my brain? Well, the fear and anxiety parts of my brain are enormous and always firing off way too often, just from the way it was wired, from the way I was treated in the womb and early childhood. Okay, these parts of my brain, not only are they all miswired from being yelled and screamed at and for things I didn't do, and already missed part of my brain and blind, I couldn't see, and I get yelled at for not being able to function like a normal person, even though I couldn't even see in front of me very far. I mean, all these kinds of things as a young child. Okay, then when I have needs that weren't being met by my caretakers, basic needs, punch it in my head to get me to shut up. So there's a marshmallow up here. So for you to say you're 42, you shouldn't even be able to have those, to do that kind of stuff if you're so-called well-regulated. Wrong. I just simply don't have brain matter that works properly up in this part of my brain to do it as fast as most people. So when these things come in at me like this too quickly, I got to either just shut off, stop, and figure it out, or you'll see that just battle of, trying to slow down, and and they call that mental. Again, another right. People that aren't severely abused as children don't have the right to call themselves, lest they might get banned on YouTube. There. I think I found a happy balance to be able to at least get more of this stuff out a little more quickly. I hope you enjoyed the show, because you know what? This is mildly humiliating as it is. Man, honesty is the best policy, and you know what I mean? Just, it is what it is.
I love the Hodge twins. I think they're great patriotic Christians and some of my favorite comedians. I only question, is it cowardly to leave out the fact that there should be a hatred for the act of homosexuality, not the individuals, and be specific about it? Comment below. In a case like mine, would it be socio-politically justified to be homophobic in theory?